made feeling better the goal instead of becoming better, mental health today is all about relief, deep breaths, self-care, setting boundaries. And while those things can be helpful, they were never supposed to be the whole solution. What I see happening is symptom management. It helps you feel better in the moment instead of building your capacity, which makes sure that you don't need this constant relief. The mental health industry has over prioritized coping to the point where people think struggling means that they're failing. But struggling isn't the problem. It's the avoidance of struggle that keeps and is keeping a lot of people stuck. For example, right? Boundaries have become one of the most misused mental health tools. Instead of helping people navigate relationships and difficult conversations or life challenges, they've become a way to avoid all of that. Traditional mental health advice sounds like this. If it drains you, walk away. If they don't respect your boundaries, cut them off. You don't know anyone access to you. And my problem or the issue with that is without building capacity, you'll always need boundaries to feel safe because your relationship with discomfort hasn't changed. You're not actually growing. You're just creating distance from anything that requires you to. So, instead, what we should be teaching people is how to regulate emotions without needing space to do it, how to communicate clearly instead of shutting people out, how to trust themselves to navigate challenges, not just to avoid them. And this is why I talk so much about capacity, because mental health isn't just about managing stress. It's about making sure that you have the internal strength to handle it. Another question for you, okay? Has your mental health journey made you stronger or just more dependent on tools?
I was gonna say I don't agree with her. I don't agree. I I think that boundaries is extremely healthy, and you don't owe your time or energy to nobody because that respectfully, it sounded like she was rationalizing people being able to do what they want to you and you having grace all the time. I'm really not for that. Like if I feel like you made a mistake, then yeah, I can show some grace. But if it's malicious intent, I'm not about to keep showing grace so you can keep showing me you the same person I thought you was and keep putting me in a situation XYZ. I think that some people believe conflict is the only way for growth. And I don't want to be conflicting with nobody. I don't absolutely have to. I just don't want to live my life like that. So I can see how somebody could be like, I can regulate my emotions very well. I can do all of those things. With that said, I still am not gonna just entertain people in my space or vicinity that put my spirit off, that make me not want to be around them. Like that's part of my mental health. Like you're not about to be bringing me down because I absorb energy a lot of the time. You're not about to be bringing me down with just pure negative energy all the time or things that I just don't want around me. I'm not doing that. And to normalize it is kind of like when somebody like if you like in an abusive relationship and you like, well, I just need better skills to be able to manage this abusive relationship. No, leave. You shouldn't be in that relationship. Or maybe I'm misunderstanding what she's saying, but that's what I got from that.
Yeah, I think. Oh, I think I think you misinterpreted. Like I can respect what you're saying, but from what I gathered, what she was saying, she's speaking to the masses. Generally, when they're applying these tools, they're talking about most people. You may be one of those people who are developed that can understand how to do what you're saying, self-regulate, assess the situation, set healthy boundaries. Unfortunately, most people don't have those set of tools. They have to be taught that. And what you're seeing in the therapeutic space is that people are taking things like boundaries and just throwing a wide net. And what they're doing is they're creating avoidance in their development in their self. So they're not going to grow. That you can't grow with every time you feel uncomfortable or somebody presents pressure in a way that requires you to arrive at that situation with maturity by saying you're violating my boundaries or I'm uncomfortable. You won't have a very fruitful life. That's what I got from what she was saying.
I agree. Um, there was something, and I'm glad I didn't have a therapist that did all of the, you have to basically go no contact with people, blah blah blah. Because when I was trying to get through like all of my daddy issues at the time, I was like, I just don't want to deal with him. Like, I don't want him in my life. I don't want to have anything to do with him. And he was like, yeah, that's not really healthy. He was like, you have to have circles. He said you have a circle where you keep people close to you. That's your core. You have to have another circle to put them in that's a little bit further away. And he was like, if you need just a little more distance, you put them there. He said you need to have, circles that you put them in. You need spaces. He said you don't eliminate people from your life, especially when you're talking about your family. He made me he gave me all this homework that really helped me work through that issue, because I was in the habit of just putting people out and just not dealing with them anymore. Now I do have boundaries. That's what those circles are for. I will put people out of my life, but not necessarily the way I used to. And so boundaries are very important, protecting yourself, but also like here. Y'all know I was like, I'm not coming back. And when I thought about it, I was like, I need to figure out how to be here with people. Like, I'm uncomfortable. The things that people are saying to me are uncomfortable. I had to figure out why they were uncomfortable. And I was like, I still want to learn. I still want to hear different perspectives. My mom raised me like that. She raised me to hear and accept different perspectives. They don't necessarily have to be mine. And so I figured out a way to come back and actually work through that being uncomfortable and not liking what people say to me, but accepting it anyway. It doesn't have to be true. So we have to learn how to set boundaries, but we also have to not set so many boundaries that you end up like with your mama and your best friend around you, and that's it, because that's unhealthy as well. You have to allow other people in this world to be different from you. You don't have to allow people to hurt you. That's what boundaries are for. But we have gotten into a space in this world where everybody just wants to be comfortable, and you have to accept them for them, and you have to be okay with it, and not just accepting. Accepting people for who they are is valid, but you have to like it, and you have to be okay with it. And like, you have to feel the way they feel. And if you don't feel the way they feel, then you can't be around them, right? We have to live in a space where we do no harm to each other. We don't have to agree. We don't have to live alike. But as long as you live by the mantra of do no harm, like, you don't have to disrespect anybody, and you don't have to take disrespect. But you also don't have to be babysat through your life either. Like, people don't have to babysit you. So, and when y'all hear me speak about anything, it's always in terms of disrespect. I don't care about how you feel, but you don't have to disrespect other people. That's always my point. But I respect everybody's right to feel the way they feel. We just don't have to do harm to people, is all I ever preach. But I ain't have no snowflake therapist, and he told me stop saying everything I think. I'm still working on it. I ain't did that yet, but yeah.
My thing is, I try and use discernment on, like I talked about this before. When I would fire people, it was never off of the mistake they made. It was the mentality behind it. So I kind of look beyond just the instance. Like, anybody can make a bad decision in a moment, or cross a line by accident. But habitual line steppers, yeah, I got to get you away from you. Somebody who mentality is malicious, I got to get you away from you. Because no matter how many times that I give you another chance, the mentality within you is the same. You're going to keep doing the same thing I'm mad about. So I might as well just save myself all of this trouble. Once I recognize that you have these character traits, so this is the way your ideology is formed, now I just separate from it. But I get working through something that's uncomfortable with a well-meaning person. That's probably the key for me. A person that's operating out of ignorance, we could do something with that if they're willing to learn. A person that's made a mistake just by accident, I could do a lot with that because that's an accident. But intentional maliciousness, intentional habitual line crossing, all of those things is an L for me. That's just I'd be so happy and so free spirit because I just don't deal with that shit. Keep it like I just don't.
And White, real talk. Don't even walk it back. It sounds a little different than what you had earlier, but I don't think even that's wrong. I think that what you were explaining initially was from the perspective of a fully calibrated human being, where you have that discernment to be able to recognize it from the beginning, and you won't tolerate certain energies within your life. And there's nothing wrong with that. But to True's point, most people aren't fully calibrated, right? They still have lessons to learn. They still don't possess that discernment necessary to be able to save hella time and eliminate someone. What the woman in the video was explaining in my interpretation was my favorite word, balance. Whereas
I was about to say that, man. I should have spoken for you.
It is healthy for you to be able to work through some things, because what I've noticed in a lot of people, unfortunately, particularly women, is men too. So I ain't gonna say it, but a lot. I guess I interact with more women. People are apprehensive sometimes to deal with people, and it's based on past experiences that they may have had that just ruin them. And when they see the first sign of anything like that without the proper discernment, then they immediately reject it. And what I've learned is some people have very noticeable character flaws. But when you identify that with experience, sometimes you learn how to deal with that, cope with that, reason with that, even reason with that. So the first thing I would try to do is see how they receive my message. I will articulate to them what it is that I feel like they're doing. If they're not the type of person that will take constructive criticism and take some actionable steps to correct it, then it's not somebody I want to deal with. I know that right away. If you're so sensitive where you can't even, it says, I'm going to present it nicely. I'm not going to come at you crazy or none of that. I'm going to parse it as carefully as possible as I can craft words. And if that is not something that works, then no, I no longer have time for human beings like that, because there are some people who were just negative. There are some people who are energy vampires, and some people that you just don't need in your life.
Yeah, I was going to speak about, I always talk about balance. And I think that's what Marcus was doing as well. I think both what Marcus said and what the lady in the video said is valuable. If you could put it in your tool bag, have it in your arsenal, and be able to apply it where needed, then that's how you're going to benefit. But to Truth's point and some of the other people's points, a lot of people don't have that discernment. I was having a conversation, and there are things that kind of trigger me from a communication standpoint. Like when somebody wants to, if I'm expressing how I feel about a situation or that person at the time, then they want to respond by saying what I've done in the past. That's okay. This is not a good faith conversation. So it's only going to go so far. If they keep going down this hole, then we're going to have to retract back and exit left of this conversation. And there's no offense. It's just the older I get, like my tolerance, I don't have a high tolerance for just having bad faith conversations or conversations that's not seeking understanding. I also believe that as a person, and this all depends on the person, you have to stand for something. Like I like to operate off of logic, so I always tie things back. I've put the work in. I think I do a good job as far as how I process information and receive it. Being self-aware, being able to apologize and admit when I'm wrong, being able to not invalidate someone's feelings. So even if they say they felt a certain way, who am I to tell them that they didn't feel that way? I don't have to agree with it, but that's the way they felt. So I'm curious as to how did they get there? I start to try to unpack it that way. But you got to be able to stand for something. So if you know that you have a certain level of discernment, no matter what they're saying, if you know it's right and you operate off of logic, then stand on it. No matter what it is that they're saying. If you felt and you looked at all the data in the situation and you said, I'm looking at this from a logical perspective, even bounce it off a couple other people and then come back. You have to be able to rest. That's being, I believe that we are problem solvers. And so when we stand on something or we feel that this is the way you got to go, then that's the way we got to go. Now, if it doesn't work out, I'm not afraid to come back to repair it, to fix it, to revisit it, to see how it can get better. But you have to be able to make a decision. And sometimes those decisions come when it's a stance.